Noted.
It is week 1. We have college football games from week 0 to talk about. The walk-on red shirts are back. We are into the season. We've got 3 top 10 matchups to talk about for this upcoming weekend. But if you aren't doing so already, make sure to hit that subscribe button, rate the podcast. The one and only Will Walk-On Moose is here with us, as always, to talk about college football and week 1 and a full slate of games.
Can't wait. I cannot wait. Jake,
how are you feeling heading into week 1?
So, Jake, I was walking around the shop this morning. We're working on pretty important stuff. Working on airplane parts. But I wasn't talking about airplane parts this morning, Jake. Wasn't talking about airplane parts. I was talking about week 1 of college football. I was talking about Cincinnati playing Nebraska. We have inventory on Friday. I have to be at work at 5:30 in the morning. Do you think I'm going to miss the Nebraska-Cincinnati game at 9 p.m. on Thursday? The answer is no.
Arrowhead for some reason.
That's why God invented coffee.
Is there a conspiracy theory with Travis Kelce getting married and his team, his alma mater, is now playing at his field on Thursday night?
Oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't think so. Are you saying he's going to coach for Cincinnati?
Is Taylor Swift going to flip the coin before the game? Should he do the coin flip?
Wait a minute. Is this the younger version of Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson? Is this going to be Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift taking over the Cincinnati Bearcats?
I'll bet you they can make them a power. They got enough money to make them a true powerhouse.
I think Taylor Swift, with the way she's able to build Nicole, could definitely do some good recruiting.
Do you know if Taylor Swift decided that she was going to be all in on the Bearcats, you know how much NIL money they would probably get?
It would be absurd. It would be. Jake, I think we're on to something. I think we've.
I don't think I ever pictured talking about Taylor Swift on this podcast. Yeah,
and the Cincinnati Bearcats. Did you ever picture yourself saying Taylor Swift could help the Cincinnati Bearcats NIL fund? That's what you got.
Scott Satterfield, call her up, buddy.
Call her up.
Call her up. See how much she can donate. She definitely got lots of money. Let's jump into week 0 action here. Last weekend we had a couple of games led by Farmageddon, which, fun fact, apparently the two schools don't want it to be called Farmageddon anymore.
That's lame. Don't do that.
You have one of the best nicknames for a rivalry, and you're choosing to try to avoid it. Shahan J. put this out today that he confirmed that the schools, not the conference, are the ones that do not want it to be called. Like, this is – you don't get too many opportunities to get a iconic nickname. Like, people love it. They love the shirts. They love the merch. Right. Farmageddon is an incredible name.
Let's relate it to something going on now. This is what's happening with Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel thought they were going to switch up on us. They thought they're going to take the old man in the barrel off the logo and make it look sleek, make it look like Huddle House. Nobody, no bucko. You got to go back to the old thing. So Iowa State and Kansas State, you're about to be the next Cracker Barrel. So you better switch up fast and say, hey, that was fake. Oh, I didn't mean to say that. That was my friend. My friend had my phone. Ha, LOL. Let's go back. Farmageddon is cool. Don't act like it's not. You're getting me fired up on week 1.
Let's talk about this game, though. So this game was sloppy in the first half.
Yes, it was. Rain.
Very,
humble,
very
smoke.
sloppy.
No yard lines. Everything that could have gone wrong in the first half went wrong. Did it not? I mean, it looked awful.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan Edwards fumbles the ball on the first punt. Supposedly there was too much smoke from fireworks. I didn't really ever see a full confirmation on that, but that's what the report was.
Dylan Edwards
twists his ankle.
Want that smoke. He
did not want that. Twists his ankle, left the game, does not come back. Kansas State, I mean, there was a point that Rocco Becht and Avery Johnson, neither of them could complete a pass further than a few yards. Rocco Becht on his first touchdown. Now, that was a dime down the field.
That was a dime.
But the receivers were dropping passes left and right. There was some accuracy issues. It took a while for both of these teams to really get going.
Yeah, it's you could tell the rain was affecting them. They were slipping all over the place. They couldn't catch the ball. The ball, they had no ball security. It was a Big 12 game being played in week 0 in Ireland. I mean, what else are you going to say? Like, everything that could go wrong was going wrong. You couldn't even see the yard lines, Jake. The Irish didn't know what they were doing. They can pour some Guinness. They can put some logos on Guinness. My favorite part of the game was the bars that were trying to do the Kansas State, Iowa State bars and support both of them. And they must have literally Googled Kansas State flag and just put up the state flag of Kansas instead of Kansas State's flag.
I saw one do the Iowa logo instead of Iowa State for kids.
They're trying though. They're trying, so I can appreciate that. But hey, you know what's better than trying? Playing the game in freaking Kansas or Iowa. How about that? Let's play that in the States.
Can I read you the drive summaries from the first half?
I can't wait. This is going to be like listening to Dr. Seuss.
Six plays, 14 yards, punt that was fumbled. 4 plays, 1 yard and a fumble. 3 plays, 3 yards and a punt. 3 plays, 7 yards and a punt. 3 plays, 2 yards and a punt. 4 plays, 49 yards and a touchdown. 8 plays, 65 yards and a touchdown. 3 plays, -9 yards and a fumble. 4 plays, 9 yards, turnover on downs. 3 plays, 4 yards and a punt. 5 plays, 38 yards and a punt. 12 plays, 48 yards and a missed field goal. 12 plays, 27 yards and a punt. And then 1 play, 0 yards and a half.
Jake, we showed them what it's like when Iowa plays Rutgers in Piscataway in the fall. And it's a little wet. It's a little rainy. No one wants to be in freaking Piscataway, New Jersey. And you're making mistakes left and right. You're punting the ball. You're either punting it or you're turning it over. You're not scoring. So we showed that, like, we're trying to allegedly, they're trying to grow the game in Europe, make it global. And what we showed them was the worst product we could possibly do. We showed them the Big Ten in October. Like I said, when Rutgers plays Iowa, and it's a punt fest.
Yeah. So overall, Rocco Beck finishes 14 of 18, 183 yards, 2 touchdowns. Avery Johnson, 21 of 30, 273 and 2 touchdowns. I watched this game. I remember thinking, like, halfway through, thinking that Rocco Beck was playing better than Avery Johnson, but Avery Johnson ended up having better stats. I don't know if going back and looking at this, Jace Brown dropped a bunch of passes. Like, there were a couple that he dropped. Beck, I think maybe part of it was, I don't know, that when he completed it, the ball just looked more natural.
Yes. He had a great, like, his passes were great. Like, he was very accurate. You go back to the first touchdown, it was like a 25-yard pass. Maybe it was a 29-yard touchdown pass. Just a beautiful dot in the back of the end zone. He was very, very accurate. And we can't get caught up in the stat book because, like we said, in the first half, there were so many drops. And there were so many drops where Rocco Beck was putting the ball on the freaking money. But, yeah, let's not get it twisted. Avery Johnson was making plays, too. And he was doing what Avery Johnson does. That I think the Kansas State offense finally started to move, and they're like, hey, Avery, you don't have to throw it. Let's just run you a lot. Let's get them off balance on who's going to be running the football instead of what are you going to do, run or pass.
Yeah, the biggest criticism I have for Kansas State was, so 4th down in the 4th quarter. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I think it might have been the first one, actually. The first time on 4th down, they had it at the Iowa State 7-yard line in the 2nd quarter, and they were in shotgun and handed it off. I am the biggest proponent that if it is like 1 yard, you do helmet on helmet, and you better get your quarterback just up on that line and go. I am not a fan of starting back 5 yards and needing to get 6.
I need Avery Johnson smelling the brisket grease on his center's butt while he's trying to get the ball to get 1 freaking yard. Okay, that's how close
we're clipping that quote.
But seriously, yeah, do a freaking sneak. It's not hard. It is hard. It's not hard.
You know, it's offensive linemen needing to get leverage to get 1 yard, and Avery Johnson, obviously an elusive runner, athletic guy. It's not like you're putting a statue back there. He's a guy that can find that hole. He can maneuver. Like, even if it's not directly just straight up behind the center, even if it's off behind one of the guards, there's got to be a better way to get this. I mean, if Kansas State converts on one of those 4th downs, they have a pretty good chance at winning this game. Granted, I don't want to say they got gifted. You scored a 65-yard touchdown on the first play in the fourth quarter after Iowa State scored. That was a blown coverage, and there was the safety over the top was not there to help, because as soon as Bradley caught the ball, he was gone.
Yeah, and to go back to the fourth down play when they needed 1 yard, our offensive line coach at Clemson used to say this: if you can't get 1 damn yard running the ball, you don't deserve to win. So shout out Robbie Caldwell. That is a Caldwellism. But seriously, yeah, if you can't if you can't get 1 yard, you don't deserve to win. And it happened again later on in the game, and they couldn't get it, and they pretty much gifted them the game. But yeah, the blown coverage. I want to say, did they not run play action on that?
I have to go back and watch that play again, but I do
remember.
I mean, it was down the left sideline, and I mean, Bradley was wide open down the sideline. As soon as he caught it, he had green grass to go. Yeah, there was nobody there.
So I mean, we saw the mental mistakes that you see early on, but what I did not see was Iowa State look outmanned, out-physicaled. I liked the way the receivers looked. One of the things that both of us questioned was, hey, you're losing Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins. What are you going to do with the passing game? Rocco Beck said, hold my beer. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was a little bit of me too, buddy. Carson Hansen looked pretty good at running back.
Carson Hansen was running that ball well in the fourth quarter.
In the second half, he took over the game. I've been high on Abu Sama, and he just looked lethargic out there. And I don't want to give up on him yet, but that's Carson Hansen's backfield. So I can at least admit that.
He was running violently. He was breaking tackles. He was breaking, he was getting contact and still getting a couple yards after that. The way Iowa State finished that game, being able to put the ball in Carson Hansen and run that ball until they were down to the 1 yard line with 2 minutes left in the game, that showed me that this Iowa State team is going to be physical, and they're going to be gritty. They're not going to be in like an air raid. Rocco Beck isn't going to go throw for 3,500 yards this year.
Yeah.
Like this, it really feels like this team is going to go as far as that running game will go. Rocco Beck is going to be really good this year.
And that's
being able to have a running attack like that is huge.
And that's the thing, Jake. Like, Iowa State's able to win ugly because of Rocco Beck. Yes, the running game is good, but when they needed Rocco Beck to make a play, I mean, there was the third down where it was 3rd and 7, I believe, and he was able to spin off a tackle and get in the end zone. The long touchdown pass. He looked crisp, and he looked like a legitimate quarterback that could probably play in the league. I mean, so I was very, very impressed with Rocco Beck. I was impressed with Kansas with Avery Johnson as well. But at the end, Iowa State just pulled away because they capitalized. They capitalized on Kansas State's mistakes, and the biggest stat of the game was Iowa State was 4 for 4 on fourth down, and Kansas State was 1 for 4.
And Kansas State, that to me goes back to the offensive line, where that's the biggest question. You played a big game, you lost a rivalry game. For Kansas State, you lose one of the bigger games on your schedule. You have to find a way. Your season is not over, especially in the age of the college football playoff. Your season is not over. You can still win this conference championship, but how do you regroup now? How do you regroup? How do you get that offensive line moving? Because, yes, they play North Dakota this week, and then they play Army. They should win both those games. North Dakota shouldn't. This isn't North Dakota State, so they should be a little bit more manageable here. I think they're favored by 4 touchdowns. Army is not going to be the easiest game. Army with Jeff Monken, especially that triple option, they've got to play very disciplined football. Before you go on the road to Arizona, you got UCF, you get Baylor, TCU, Kansas in October. There's a chance for them to regroup and get this going. But the issues that people talked about all offseason really showed themselves against Iowa State.
Jake, I want to say, I feel like Army pivoted from the triple option. I think they run a different offense now.
They might, but I know that they still definitely they're going to run some variation of
the
that
option. Yeah. And one last thing before we move forward, Jake, I want to say, can somebody let Kansas State know when people say like fight like a family? It doesn't mean
literally fight your family.
Yeah, no, you fight with your family, like not each other. You fight as a family, like together. Well, no, that's still confusing. Yeah, I can see how it's confusing for some Kansas State family members. So yeah, let's just remind them that when we say fight like a family, or with a family as a family, it's not against each other. You're fighting hypothetically, theoretically, with the other team on the gridiron, and not necessarily in the parking lot after the game with your own family members. So just
fair
disclaimer.
Fair. Other game that I wanted to touch on, there were 5 games this past weekend, but there were 2 that were the best to absolutely watch. UNLV, Idaho State. I will say that Idaho State gave them a run for their money.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah.
UNLV, they are not going to be anywhere near the playoff. Like, let's just put that out there. This is not the same UNLV team as last year. There's a lot of confusion up there. They were not very disciplined. There was a lot of really stupid penalties. There was a taunting penalty by the UNLV defensive back where he broke it up. And usually taunting penalties, I'm like, might be a little iffy. But when you break it up and then your helmet goes down towards his helmet and you can tell he's jawing, yeah, you're probably going to get called for that one, dude. I'm pretty sure it's the definition of taunting. But there was a lot of undisciplined penalties. There was false starts that shouldn't have been false starts. There was offsides. Like, it was a bad showing from UNLV. And I mean, if they clean it up, maybe, but I'm not sold on when you allow the Idaho State quarterback Jordan Cook to go for 380 passing yards on your defense. I'm not sold on you.
Jake, I'm gonna give you a stat. I want you to guess the stat line. So I'm gonna tell you that Alex Orji completed 100% of his passes. Okay,
he completed like 5, wasn't it?
It was more than 1. I'll tell you that much. It might have been less than 5.
Was he 3 for 3? I remember seeing him 3 for 3.
He was 3 for 3. How many passing yards do you think Alex Orji had?
Was it like 44?
37. 37. Hey. So I don't understand how they kept putting him out there. He did have a really sick video game touchdown where he jumped over the dude.
He also had a video game fumble into the end zone.
Anthony Calandra looked like the better quarterback who could also run. So I don't understand what Alex Orji does for you. Maybe in 4th down sets where we have to get a yard. Like he's a big dude. He's 6'3", 240. But I know we just said we weren't going to talk about this game, but I had to bring up that he threw.
This UNLV team is like all of the misfit toys on one team.
This is the Kmart.
Anthony Calandra. You have Alex Orji, Kayvon Lee, who was at Florida State and Penn State, I think. JoJo Earl, who was a former 5-star that was at Alabama.
Yeah.
You have Justin Flo, who was a former 5-star that was at Oregon at one point. I think he was at Arizona then too. Tumise Adelaide, who was at Texas A&M. Jake Pope, who I think might have been at Georgia and Alabama at one point.
Yep.
Like, this is like the island of misfit toys that have been brought together.
Did they not get Corey Foreman as well?
I don't see him listed on any of the stats, or at least any of the box scores. Doesn't
matter. I was, just naming names.
Yeah, I don't see Foreman here on any of the stat sheets. I don't know if he played. He's at Fresno State, I believe, actually.
Fresno State, you're exactly right.
But yeah, I might tune into another UNLV game just for the Island of Misfit Toys, but I also do not think that they're going to win many games.
It's worth the watch. Jaden Thomas looked great. The only guy who didn't transfer.
Yeah, 10 carries, 147 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's a good day. Let's talk about Hawaii and Stanford here, because this was a phenomenal game to end the slate.
Yes, it was.
Absolutely incredible game. Andrew Luck and company. Stanford, I can kind of see the vision of what Andrew Luck wants to go, but it's going to take some time. It's going to take a while. I think that Stanford is going to go back to basically the same offense that the late 2000s, early 2010s when he was there, with, trying to find a dynamic running back like a Toby Gerhart, a Christian McCaffrey, a Bryce Love, somebody like that. Who am I thinking of? Stephon Taylor is the other one I'm thinking of. A guy that they can lean on the running back. I mean, they're going to bring the fullback back, I'm pretty sure.
They better.
I mean, Micah Ford was running through that Hawaii defense. But the first egregious mistake that I think every special teams coach if they haven't already, they need to be doing it in their special teams meeting this week, is showing that first kickoff from Stanford where the ball hit the ground, the kick returner waves fair catch, and he's standing at the 1 yard line, and he catches it. And now Hawaii has the ball at their own 1 yard line. Because as soon as that ball hits the ground and you fair catch it, you get the ball wherever you catch it at. It's not at the 25 yard line.
Yeah, that was bad. That was bad. I think also if you're talking about bad, Ben Goldburnson, the quarterback transfer from Oregon
he's not
State.
good. He's not good.
Boy, man, you want to. I felt bad for him. I'll be honest with you. I felt bad for him, but 15 for 30. So they threw that ball 30 times, 109 yards, 50% completion percentage, 3.6 yards per attempt. Guys, just to put that in perspective, like the average where you want to see your quarterback is around the 6 range. Like if he's getting into the 8 range, or excuse me, the 7 range, and if he's getting into the 8 and 9 range, like you've got a stud quarterback who's throwing the ball deep. 3.6 means that ball is barely going past the line of scrimmage. So that means if you're throwing the ball, it is a crossing route, and he's still only able to complete 50% of his passes. That is abysmal.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all. Michael Alejandro, I think that's how you say Alejandro, redshirt freshman quarterback, comes out on that first drive. Alejandro, comes out on that first drive at his own 1 yard line. I felt like this was happening. I felt like he was either throwing a 99-yard touchdown or getting sacked and losing the ball. And sure enough, gets sacked, loses the ball. Stanford scores a touchdown. It's 10-0 in the first quarter. Hawaii then fights back, but I think Frank Reich proved that he shouldn't be coaching anymore. There was some absolute coaching malpractice from him. Hawaii deserved to win this game, but the fact that Frank Reich went to the end of the game with 3 timeouts and didn't use a single one, Hawaii is in field goal position at this point. Make them snap the ball. Right. We've seen crazy things happen. Make them snap the ball 3 more times.
But Jake, what's crazy is who has to touch the ball if you're going to take a knee? Who has to touch the ball?
The quarterback.
The quarterback who was on one leg. Dead. He was playing dead.
He was on one leg. And so you look at the end of this game. It is second down, and they do a 1 yard run. You can actually get the ball back with that, because if they run it 1 yard, you have 3 timeouts. There's 2 more plays before they have to kick this. Actually, there's 2 more. You technically have to call 2 timeouts, the end of second, end of third. So you have to call 2 timeouts. You can get the ball with 15 seconds left. You can also potentially force a fumble. You can push him back further. You can get a tackle for a loss. You don't know what's going to happen.
Jake, what if Frank Reich thinks that if he tanks in college, he gets the number 1 recruit?
Ooh.
Maybe he's just confused, and he thinks
maybe he is just
number
confused.
1 recruit. Yeah, he's tanking it. So yeah, he hasn't turned off his NFL brain. But yeah, I mean,
it was also coaching malpractice to be throwing the ball with 6 minutes left in the game when you are winning by 3 points and you are on the Hawaii side of the ball.
And you can't complete a pass.
Yeah, you've already seen your court. And Micah Ford was running through that Hawaii defense. Yeah. He got going, like the last drive, 2 yards, 6 yards, and then he actually completed a pass for 36 yards. But then a 17-yard run. He just had a 17-yard run. You decided to throw it when you're at the Hawaii 24-yard line. All you have to do is run that clock. And Stanford had a 20-play, 85-yard, 9-minute 37-second drive. They also started the game with a 16-play, 70-yard, 7-minute 46-second drive. And they also had a 13-play, 64-yard drive for 6 minutes, and an 11-play, 37-yard drive for 5 minutes. They know how to milk the clock. They could have run the ball and just killed that. And then they threw a pass, and your quarterback who can't throw threw it right into the defensive end's arms. Not even a linebacker or a defensive back. Literally the defensive end.
We shouldn't be judging so hard. It is very difficult to coach when there's 15,000 people screaming.
In a brand new stadium.
That's how many people were at Hawaii.
At their brand new stadium. At their brand new stadium.
It did look nice.
It did look nice. I'm happy Hawaii has a real stadium again. let's talk about, so starting this week, we're going to do our walk-on redshirt player of the week. So this is different than player of the week. For us, this is an underrated player. This means that don't expect to see Arch Manning. Don't expect to see, Garrett Nussmeier. Don't expect to see Kay Klubnik. We're going to be doing guys that we believe to be underrated players that deserve recognition for what
like
they
an underdog
accomplished.
story of the week. Something that a guy stepped up that we didn't expect. So
yes. So
like a walk on.
Mine is from not a, doesn't have to be a walk on. Mine's from this game. It's Micah Alejandro because he went down with a knee injury. I thought, based on that look, I thought he was done for the year. I thought his ACL was gone. Comes back in, plays on one leg, was running the ball even at one point in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I'm not convinced.
You see him literally hopping to the sideline and threw for 210 yards as a redshirt freshman, threw for 39 times, 2 touchdowns, ran for 36 yards, had a long of 30. Like, this dude, after being put in a terrible position, down 10 points, brought his team back, won their game, and all of a sudden people were talking about Hawaii being a bowl eligible team this year.
Yeah, and that was one of the greatest performances I'd seen. Like, I just kept saying over and over again, the dude's on one leg. The dude's on one leg. How is he on one leg? And I thought for sure, like, at some point they're taking him out, right? They have to take him out. And just to give a quick shout out before I say who my walk-on player of the week was, it's not Hawaii's kicker, who I really wanted to pick, but I didn't. Kansei Matsuzawa, who taught himself how to kick by watching YouTube videos in Japan. But he said the scariest thing about the scariest thing about playing football and kicking in these situations is not kicking in the tough situations, but understanding English. So I was like, wow, that's pretty good. But my guy is Micah Ford. So we talked about him a little bit. So Micah Ford, the running back for Stanford out of Toms River, New Jersey, scored Stanford's first rushing touchdown since September 23rd, 2023. So that's week 4 of 2023. They did not score a touchdown essentially all of 2023. So
that's disgusting.
Weeks. And all of 2024, not essentially all of 2024, all of 2024, no rushing touchdowns. Now, he also ran for 123 yards on 26 carries, 4 yards per carry, which is pretty darn good. He was the workhorse. He played amazing. He had some great spin moves in the end. He looked great. But the fact that was Stanford's first rushing touchdown since 2023, September of 2023, I had to give him his flowers here. So shout out Micah Alejandro and Micah Ford for the first ever walk-on.
2 guys named Micah.
Players of the week. 2 guys named Micah. Wow. Are we a Micah podcast? I didn't even think of that.
Might be a Micah podcast.
All
right. We got
Micahs that we speak into.
We do have Micahs. So we're going to talk about the 3 biggest games this week. 3 top 10 matchups. Let's start with the one that I think the fewest amount of people, I don't want to say care about. If this was the number 1 game on the slate, people would be all over it. Problem is, it's overshadowed by 2 other ones. Notre Dame and Miami. They play Sunday night?
They're playing on Sunday. I think
Sunday
that plays a role too. So like everybody's looking at the big entree. There's some nice dessert on Sunday and Monday.
Yeah. So over the weekend, we've got Notre Dame going down to Miami. A very interesting game here because Notre Dame obviously finished the national championship game, breaking in a ton of new players. CJ Carr is going to be the starting quarterback there. They still have an incredibly talented roster. They've still got Jaden Greathouse. They've still got Jeremiah Love. They've still got Leonard Moore out there as the defensive back. Like, they have a very stacked roster where they could make a run for the national championship again. Miami is a complete overhaul. The offense is going to look completely different. They got Carson back there, all new wide receivers. The Josiah Trader is basically the biggest name returning, and he had a very limited role last year. All new running backs, or I wouldn't say all new faces that'll be starting this year. To you, William, what do you think the key is for this game, for either team?
So if we want Notre Dame to win, so they're going to Miami, which I don't want to just throw shade on Miami all the time, but please put your freaking stadium closer to campus instead of an hour away from campus.
Makes
I promise you'll get more people at the game. But anyway, So I don't see crowd factor playing a role. But if Notre Dame's going to win, I think they need to use all three backs. You know, you talk about Jeremiah Love, you talk about Jadarian Price, if I'm saying it right.
Jadarian Price.
And you talk about Anias Williams, who not many people are talking about, who's also a stud. And they also have a really good freshman, a massive freshman in Kendron Young, who might play a little bit, but I doubt it with three really good receivers and running backs in front of them. I think they should use all three guys. If they want to beat Miami, get after it, make it a rock fight, run the ball over and over and over again, and dare Miami to stop you. Dare Miami to stop you. Take the pressure off of CJ Carr. His first ever start is going to be away in a primetime game in Miami. Take the pressure off of him. And also, hydrate. You're going to be playing in freaking Miami. It's going to be hot. I mean, it's not going to be that hot since you've got the beach close by, but it's going to be hot. Hotter than South Bend, Indiana. I hate seeing these teams come down and play in these southern climates and then cramp up. You're going to see a lot of cramping in the August and early September games, and it's very easy to prevent. Hydrate and freaking eat. We had a trainer, Gary Nelson. Shout out Coach Nelson, back in high school. Every day during the summer, you better freaking eat. You better freaking drink. You're gonna cramp up. You're gonna throw up if you don't. So hydrate, and then. Like I said, don't ask Carr to take over the game. If Notre Dame has to rely on CJ Carr's arm in his first ever start, you're probably not going to win, right? We don't know a lot about CJ Carr, but I wouldn't have that much confidence in taking a first-time starter and going out and winning against what a lot of people have as being the runner-up in the ACC. Now, on the flip side, you talk about Miami, same thing. They better establish the run, because they've got Carson Beck, and Carson Beck can get a little sporadic in these types of games. He's got a much better receiving core than he did last year at Georgia, who led the country in drops. So all they have to do is not do that, and they'll be better. But if Miami is going to win this game, they have to be able to run the ball and not be in third and long constantly. Load the box against Notre Dame. Dare CJ Carr to throw. So a little give and take on those two takes, and then technique tackling. If you're going to tackle Jeremiah Love or Jadarian Price, you better freaking wrap up. There's none of this. I'm going to load my short into him and run into him as hard as I can, because guess what? Ask Penn State.
Even wrapping up might not be enough for Jeremiah Love.
Exactly. Watch Penn State with 6 guys draped on him, wrapping him up, trying to pull him down. He's on one leg, pulling them in. So, but play technique sound football on the defensive side of the ball, and Miami has a good shot. You're at home. You're playing against a team trying to break in a new quarterback. Anything can happen, but those are my keys to the game for both.
Yeah, I think, this is cliche, but I think it comes down to the trenches, but I think it really comes down to one spot. I think it's Miami's defensive line versus Notre Dame's offensive line. Like, I think if Miami's offensive line dominates, I still think it comes down to Notre Dame's offensive line and Miami's defensive line, because, like you said, CJ Carr is making his first start. Carson Beck is in his third year starting. So this isn't going to phase him. Maybe there'll be a little bit of jitters, new program, making his first start since the elbow injury. But CJ Carr is making his very first start. And no offense, but Marcus Freeman wasn't necessarily super confident, because he said part of this was a gut instinct on picking CJ Carr. He didn't necessarily come out and say, yeah, it was because he performed so much better in this and did that. He legitimately said part of it was there was a little bit of a gut instinct in there, and he has seen CJ Carr. He probably knows what he's capable of, but if that offensive line can get the run game going fast, like first quarter, we're doing a 10-play drive and 8 of them are runs, and you're gashing them for 5, 6, 7, 8 yards. If you can put CJ Carr in positions where second down and 3, you can let him spin it in some low risk passes and help build that confidence there, you can build that momentum for Notre Dame. That's where I think that it needs to come down, is Notre Dame needs to win the line of scrimmage early. It can't be something that they come back after halftime and figure out the line of scrimmage. I think Notre Dame's offensive line is going to be pretty good again. I think they're going to be pretty good. They seem like the last couple of years that offensive line has been a rock for them. And I think it's going to be good again. Notre Dame cannot get down more than 10 points. I don't want CJ Carr having to lead me back in the second half from 2 scores. They have to keep this game even or even ahead throughout, because I don't want CJ Carr to be making pressure passes in the fourth quarter because you don't have a tune-up game like plenty of other schools do. Miami, I really think you just have to find a way to get Carson Beck comfortable. I don't know how you do that. I don't know what the game plan is. CJ Daniels is probably your most experienced receiver. He's playing like his 7th year. Played at Liberty LSU last year. He wasn't super successful, comes over from LSU. You've got to find a way to get Carson Beck comfortable that he can go out there and look like the 2023 self, where he actually was nearly a Heisman contender, nearly going in the first round of NFL drafts. The one last year, there was a lot of confidence issues. There was almost a little bit of arrogance in there as well. There was like a confidence in the receivers, a little bit of arrogance, thinking he was this best thing around, and it just wasn't translating super well.
It looks the same that way.
So how can you get Carson Beck going? How can you get him comfortable early? It doesn't mean that you have to be slinging it 30 yards downfield, but if you're hitting 5, 6, 7 yard routes and you can put it, hey, we got 2nd and 6 and we can run the ball, or even, hey, we got, we ran the ball for 6 yards on the first play. How do we hit on those intermediate routes that we can get him feeling good about that? Because Notre Dame secondary is not going to be an easy one to gash.
I mean, anybody on their defense, essentially. I mean, they've got a pretty big defense. I mean,
you've got Drake Bowen, you've got Leonard Moore. Is it Leonard Moore? I'm thinking the
Leonard Moore. Yeah.
Yeah. Benjamin Morrison keeps coming in my head, but that was last year.
Yeah.
Notre Dame is going to have one of the best defenses. This might be one of the best defenses, if not the best defense that Miami plays. I don't remember who else. Do they play Clemson?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so there's a very good chance that this is the best defense that Miami will play this year, and Carson Beck gets him right out of the gate with a brand new offense. So getting him comfortable to me is incredibly important. We'll make our picks on this game here coming up. We still got our walk-on weekly 10. Let's jump over to the the LSU versus Clemson, the battle for the real Death Valley.
Yeah, and just to give you an update, that probably the hardest defense they'll play is outside of Notre Dame would be Florida. So Notre Dame, Bethune-Cookman, South Florida, Florida State, Louisville, Stanford, SMU, Syracuse, NC State.
Yeah, but, Notre Dame is probably the toughest one on that schedule.
I'd agree with that.
Battle for real Death Valley here. We've got 2 top 10 teams. I believe LSU is ranked number 9 and Clemson is ranked number 4.
That's correct.
This is your Saturday night game, 7:30 on ABC. Clemson, here, I'll let you do Clemson's keys for victories, and I'll do LSU's keys to victory.
I love it. Okay, and then they also just swapped who was going to be announcing the game. It was going to be Sean McDonough, former Clemson guy, but now it's going to be Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler. So
Sean McDonough went to Clemson?
I don't know if he went to Clemson, but he's a Clemson guy. Like he's a Clemson fan. Hold on. Actually, Let me look that up real quick.
Anyways, tell me your keys to victory for Clemson against LSU this weekend.
He went to Syracuse, so I'm full of crap. My keys to victory for Clemson in the Battle of Death Valley. Number 1, score touchdowns in the red zone. So I just had an article come out talking about Clemson's keys to victories, and so I'm a plagiarize myself and talk about how Clemson was 77th in the country in scoring touchdowns in the red zone, 33rd in the country in scoring in the red zone, but 77th in scoring touchdowns. So about a 60% clip of the time they're scoring touchdowns, which is not good enough. Part of the reason that was having a weaker running game later in the year. Phil Maffa gets hurt, and you didn't really have anybody else to run the football. So you became one-dimensional, and it's really tough to be one-dimensional in the red zone. So Clemson needs to start converting those. You go back to the Florida State game. They were in the red zone 6 times and scored 0 touchdowns in the red zone. They also missed 2 field goals in the red zone. So that game should have been a bloodbath, but it wasn't. It ended up being a 2-score game and closer than it ever should have been. So, and you're playing a big team like LSU, you better score those touchdowns. You better capitalize when you get the chance. Stop the run. So, talk about how they can't score touchdowns because they struggle running the ball. Well, another bugaboo of Clemson's last year was they were 80th in the country in stopping the run. They could not stop a nosebleed. They could not stop. It was bad. Insert Tom Allen. He's going to be in the booth the first time in since 1990 that Clemson's going to have a defensive coordinator in the booth and not on the field. So excited about what he's been doing with the defense. Excited about the pieces we have. There's depth in places that there wasn't in the past few years. I mean, the roster didn't change that much from this year to last year, and yet there's more depth on this year. You insert Will Hull, a transfer from Purdue. You insert a Jaheim Lawson, who's taken strides in the offseason and becoming a guy that they would love to have rotate with the ones. But if you didn't have TJ Parker and Will Hull in front of them, you have a K. Denhoff, you have some Darian Mayo, who's taken some big steps, who I don't think will play too much this year, but will be a guy next year. But anyway, also Jaheim Lawson, Shaq Lawson's little brother. So shout out Shaq Lawson. Obviously, you talk about the interior with Peter Woods and DeMonte Capehart, but they have depth at the defensive tackle position now too. Gone are the days of Peter Woods having to play defensive end, and I think that's going to go leaps and bounds to helping them fix that issue of not being able to stop the run. And then last but not least, obviously, is pressure Nussmeier. What is Clemson known to do with this defensive line? Putting pressure on the quarterback. And if we're going to win in a hostile environment, put some pressure on Garrett Nussmeier early and often. Nussmeier plays in the SEC. He's been smacked in his jaw a couple times, so one or twice isn't going to do it. You need to be breathing down his neck, smelling the brisket off his back too, as often as possible when he goes back to pass. You don't have to sack him every time. You just got to let him know you're there. He's got to start hearing footsteps. As Sam Darnold, he's got to start seeing ghosts, and that's where mistakes will come late in the game. So if you're putting pressure on him early and often, late in the game is when the mistakes will come, when he has to push, when he has to take a shot that he normally wouldn't, or when he gets hit and he's off time, and now instead of throwing in front of the receiver, he throws behind and becomes a pick. So put some pressure on Garrett Nussmeier, stop the run, and score when you get the opportunity in the red zone.
Yeah, I like all the points that you made there. I think Clemson, for sure, you have to score in the red zone. You've got to score touchdowns. You can't be kicking field goals. You don't have a Phil Maffa back there. We'll find out what the running back, Adam Randall, is obviously getting that started, like you said. But we'll see what Adam Randall is at running back this year. I think Randall will be good. Phil Maffa was obviously a bowling ball. Like 3rd and 1, you had a really good feeling that he was going to fall forward for a yard.
Yeah.
But Randall is a little bit different of a running back. Maffa was definitely more of that bruiser, it felt like. So for me, when I look at LSU, they were top 30 in the country in sacks, but they were 85th in tackles for loss last year, which that is a pretty wide gap there. When you were top 30, yeah. I think they were 30th in sacks. They were 85th in tackles for loss. This goes directly to the running back position there, because when Clemson runs the ball, LSU, in order to win, they have to slow down that running game, because if we don't, like I said, we don't know what it is. So if they can contain that and force Klubnik to be throwing on 3rd down and force it that it is an obvious passing down, your pass rush can actually get there. But if you are leaving it open on 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, where you have no idea what play's coming, Clemson's going to have the playmakers to be able to do anything, especially like with Randall being a former wide receiver. I expect heavy usage for him in the passing game.
Yeah.
I expect heavy usage for him. So if it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, I have the expectation that Randall is going to be in there and possibly be going out and in a flat, or, going downfield for a 3 or 4 yard dump off. I could see Randall finishing this game with 3 or 4 catches and having, or actually probably more like 4 or 5 catches for 30 yards, and a couple of them coming on 3rd down.
And think about it, Jake. Who normally has to guard the running back in pass coverage? It's a linebacker.
Yeah.
So you have a guy who's played wide receiver, who can run routes like a wide receiver, who's fast like a wide receiver, and now you have a linebacker who's used to guarding running backs who aren't used to running routes. You could dice them up a little bit.
So in order for LSU to have success, I think that interior defensive line has to get tackles for loss. Like, they cannot be as bad as they were last year. They were fine on pass rush, but tackles for loss, they were terrible. The next thing I think that LSU needs to do, they've got to balance their offense. The running attack was iffy at best last year. Caden Durham was a freshman, finished with over 700 yards. I think you'll see an improvement there. He averaged over 5 yards a carry. He really came into his own towards the end of the season, was averaging, more than 4 or 5 yards a carry through the rest of that season. LSU's got to find a way to not be a full air raid offense. They have wide receivers to go out there between Aaron Anderson and why am I blanking on the other guys? I know they've got tons of wide receivers.
Aaron Anderson, Darian Brown, Chris Henry.
Yeah, Chris Hilton Jr.
Chris Hilton, sorry.
Yeah, Chris Hilton Jr. They've got plenty of guys. They're going to be able to throw the ball a little bit. I don't know if they're necessarily going to go for like 350. Honestly, I don't think LSU should want Nussmeier to go for 350. I think in an ideal world, LSU, if they win this game, they pass for 300 and they run for 200.
Yeah, they're balanced.
If you can find some sort of balance, they're going to be a little more pass heavy with the experience of Nussmeier, with the receivers they've got on that offense. But they've got to get a better rushing attack. They've got to have a consistent rushing attack. They've got to have one that Clemson respects. If Clemson is only allowing 2 yards a carry and it's 3rd and 6 every time, and they're like barely bringing a pass rush, they're going to go and eat Nussmeier alive at some point here. Third thing that I have for this is just, it's cliche, but you got to avoid the costly mistakes. One thing for Nussmeier last year, so he threw 12 interceptions. 12 interceptions. If he's going to throw if he's going to throw one interception, or they're going to have 2 turnovers, you cannot have them in a costly situation. It's one thing if it's 3rd and 10 and you throw up an arm punt and it's on the other 20-yard line. It's a different thing if you're on your own 30-yard line and you hit the cornerback in the chest, and Clemson starting at the 32-yard line.
Yeah, and Jake, I think 9 of those interceptions came in like the last 4 games of the season. I'm checking on that now while you talk. Sorry.
Yeah, well, so if 2 came against South Alabama, 2 came against Ole Miss, 3 against A&M, 2 against Alabama, 1 against Baylor, 1 against USC, 1 against South Carolina. For the most part, those are pretty good teams. For the most part, you're talking about legitimate, upper echelon teams of the SEC for the most part. We're not talking about all of them. But he cannot have those costly mistakes. If he's going to throw an interception, you need to hope that, or LSU, it's a long arm punt. If he throws costly interceptions on his own side of the field, I think Clemson, if they can convert, that's where Clemson's going to make their money.
Yeah.
All right, the big game of the week. We've got a top 3 matchup. Texas travels to Ohio State. We're so close to a number 1 versus number 2. If only it was for the AP. Coaches have them at 1 and 2. AP's got them at 1 and 3. Texas versus Ohio State. Do you want to take Texas?
I'll take Texas.
Take Texas' key to victory.
So Texas' keys to victory. I've got Arch Manning. Let's take the training wheels off early. He's played some significant snaps. He's started 2 games. Obviously, it was against UTEP and or UTSA or whoever, and Mississippi State. So not the best defenses that he's going up against, but I think he's able to do it. So let's take the training wheels off early. Don't play this conservative game where you don't want him to throw the ball here or there. You want to keep him on a pitch count. No, let the man play football. Let the Manning play football. That's what they do best in that family. Let it rip. Let him rip early. Let him put pressure on people. Let him challenge Caleb Downs a couple of times. Let him get some swagger. It would probably be a bad idea to challenge Caleb Downs. I don't actually mean that. The second would be the defense. So let's confuse Julian Sand. Julian Sand's making his first start. Yes, it's at home, so that's helpful for him. But you're playing against one of the best defenses in the country. Probably a top 5 defense, but especially when it comes to rushing the passer. And when you have Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill, Malik Muhammad, you've got some guys all across that defensive line, the front 7 actually, with the linebacker unit included. So if they can confuse Sand, if they can do some stunts, if they can send some late blitzes, if they can drop a defensive end into coverage and bring a linebacker in his place, make Julian Sand think. The worst thing you could do to a quarterback is make him think. Get him out of the zone and make him start thinking instead of just playing football. And then last, get the running game going. So if you want to help Arch Manning starting for the first time in a hostile environment, run the football. If Texas can't run the football, I don't think they'll beat Ohio State. I don't. If it turns into something like that and they cannot run the football, they're not going to beat Ohio State because, yes, Arch Manning is great. I think he's going to be great. I think I don't know about generational talent. We'll see. But I think he's good enough. But if he's having to throw the ball 30, 35 times in this game, I don't think they win. So I know I said take the training wheels off, but they don't need to be throwing 60, 70% of the time. Be balanced. Make the Ohio State defense think as well. You want the new defense thinking, and you want the new quarterback thinking.
Yeah. Funny enough, there's a lot of similarities between these two teams. New quarterback getting broken in. Both of them are putting new tackles on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Both of them lose a key receiver that, Matthew Golden went first round. So did Emeka Ibuka. Both of them have a stud safety in the back between Michael Taff and Caleb Downs. Like, there's a lot of similarities here. One of the keys, though, is for Ohio State, you've got to get Jeremiah Smith involved. And he had one catch for 3 yards in the playoff game. Obviously, you still won. You had a ton of talent around. Not that you don't have a ton of talent still, but you have to find ways to scheme Jeremiah Smith open because everybody knows the plays he can make. It doesn't matter if there are two guys on him. We've seen him make those throws, but Julian Sayin has to be confident enough to make those throws. Will Howard had started, something like insane 40 games or 30 games, something like that, heading into the playoffs last year. He was ready to chuck it up to Jeremiah Smith. Julian Sayin is making his first start ever. Dude has like 7 career passes or something like that. How do you get him confident enough to throw that to Jeremiah Smith when he is going against a pretty strong secondary? You've got Malik Muhammad back there, Michael Taff. You've got, why am I blanking on the linebacker's name?
Anthony Hill.
I was thinking Anthony Hicks, and I was mixing Jordan Hicks and Anthony Hill. But yeah, Anthony Hill is on that defense, is going to be calling everything for that. And obviously Colin Simmons is on the edge there. How do you get Jeremiah Smith the ball? How do you get Carnell Tate the ball? You're breaking in new running backs as well. So early, I honestly expect the first time Ohio State has the ball, I expect that first play to be a pass because I think they're going to say, let's not waste around. There's no reason to just run the ball just because and, get him. Let's go out there. Let's do this. Let's throw a screen pass. I think it will be a bubble screen to a wide receiver.
Well, and I also want to say, too, you don't have Chip Kelly, so you've got a new offensive coordinator and why am I blanking on his name?
Ryan Hartline.
Ryan Hartline. But you've got to think Ryan Day is going to be calling most of the plays. But
supposedly Brian Hartline's going to be in the booth calling plays.
Wow. That's good for him. Don't overthink it. When you have Jeremiah Smith, don't care. You cannot care who guards Jeremiah Smith. It does not matter if they have a first-round draft pick at defensive back that is covering Jeremiah Smith. Doesn't matter. When you have a guy like Jeremiah Smith, rely on him. I get so mad when you have these schools that want to get cute and do something that they don't expect the other team to do, or they want to shy away from a matchup. When you have Jeremiah Smith, I don't care who you line up across from him. Trust your guy.
I agree. Second one is the defensive line has to win more than 50% of those reps. You have a brand new defensive line. JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer, they're gone. You do not have those guys. Now, you have guys who were on the team last year that played, but you had 4 senior defensive linemen that started and played a lot of those reps. You brought in a couple of guys. You brought in Bo Atkinson from North Carolina. There's a couple familiar guys, Caden Curry, Kenyatta Jackson, are 2 guys that are going to play a lot of snaps. They're also going against 2 new offensive tackles at Texas. You need to find a way to win your reps. And even if you don't get to Arch Manning, how can you get him off balance? Incompletions are going to be just as good in some scenarios as a sack. If it's 3rd down and 8, sack is great. Incompletion also forces 4th down. You don't necessarily need to get the sack. You need to find a way to get Texas off the field because they do have offensive playmakers. They've got CJ Baxter is back. Wisner is back at running back. Jaden Blue, I believe, is off to the NFL, or is he back as well?
No, he's gone.
Okay. But they've got Ryan Wingo there on the offensive side. They're breaking a new tight end. Gunnar Helm is off to the NFL. So there's a lot of new pieces, but there's also a lot of familiar pieces there as well. Arch Manning has a little bit more experience than Julian Sayin. So he will probably feel a little bit more comfortable to start. So how can you knock him off balance? Finally, I think you just need to let Caleb Downs do Caleb Downs things. Like, I don't know how to better explain that, but you're breaking in a new defensive coordinator. Matt Patricia just needs to basically let Caleb Downs run that defense however he needs to. Let him move around. Caleb Downs is one of the smartest players in college football. Let him move around. Let him do what he needs to do. He's going to make plays. He's going to find the ball. When Caleb Downs is at his best, he could surely be playing on Sundays.
Yeah, and I want to add one more thing for Ohio State. You just won the national championship, but don't try to be last year's team. You're not last year's team. Make your own identity. Be your own team. I mean, obviously, when you're replacing a bunch of people, that seems like it'd be easier. But a lot of times you get caught up. What did we do last year? What did we do last year? What did we do last year? Doesn't matter what we did last year. You got a new team. Be this year's team. Don't get caught up in last year.
Apparently, Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith basically told all the coaching staff, like, take down all the championship stuff. Like, when they got to spring ball, like, take it down.
Yeah.
That was last year's team. This is a different team. This team needs to earn that as well. This is a very different team. It's also a little bit different. Like, when you think back of some of the championship teams that, they bring back almost like a full roster, there's been plenty of teams where you bring them back and you go, okay, they're definitely going to be a championship contender because they bring back, 16 of 22 starters. It's a little bit different because those guys were there. This one's a little bit different because Ohio State's returning something ridiculous, like 7 starters on the whole team.
Yeah.
So, and Texas is also, I mean, their defense, I think, returns 8 starters and their offense only returns 3. But when you only return a third of your starters, it feels a little bit different than if you were returning more than half, where you feel like that team is the championship team. With Ohio State, yes, they won the championship, but if you took out Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs, like, it looks completely different to everybody.
Yeah, and you're looking at the team this year. Caleb Downs is the voice of that defense now. It's not Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau.
No,
those were the heart and soul of the defense. You have a new voice.
Yes,
and I can't wait to see what he does as the leader of that defense.
All right, let's get into our Gridiron Spice Spiciest Take of the week. It's time for, we are going to pick our boldest, I messed this up. Apologies. Time for our Gridiron Spiciest Take of the week. Just like our boldest college football takes, Gridiron Spice brings bold to every meal. From their signature varsity blend to the fiery hot route and Cajun-inspired Go Long, these seasonings are built for game day. Head to gridironspiceco.com. Use code WALKON. Get 10% off your order. Gridiron Spice, where football meets flavor. So we every week are going to be picking our spiciest take. Their spices aren't always spicy. They have barbecue. They've got tons of other stuff. But we're going to pick what we believe to be our spiciest take of the week. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
I can go first. You want to go first?
You go. Yeah, you go first.
All right, I'll go first. Okay, so I've gotten some heat. I put out my ACC predictions, and I had Miami being a 7-5 team. I'm rocking with that, with Notre Dame cruising past Miami, winning by 17 plus.
You mean the team you forgot about when you did your playoff prediction?
Yes, the team I forgot about. And the reason for this is I think Notre Dame's running game is going to be able to control the clock, beat up on Miami, is going to make Miami play off time, make Carson Beck make decisions he normally wouldn't make. And I think Notre Dame's just going to be able to lay it on them. I don't think Notre Dame is a national championship contending team this year. I think they're really good. But I think they're going to humble Miami in week 1 if Miami needs humbling.
I can 100% see that.
17 plus is what makes it spicy. I think they're going to beat them by 17 plus.
Mine might be a little bit more mild because of just the talk I see, but based on the spread,
I went with the hot route. You went with the go long.
Yeah. I go long GEAUX, but I'm not picking LSU. Alabama's a 13.5-point favorite. I think this game is over by halftime. I think Alabama absolutely rolls Florida State on the road. I mean, remember, Florida State was a 2-10 team last year. I know they rebuilt. Tommy Castellanos is not scared of Alabama, blah, blah, blah. Don't care. Ryan Grubb is at Alabama. You have Robin to Kalen DeBoer's Batman that's there. Yeah. You have an offense that is ready to go. If Ty Simpson is going to complete passes to Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams, like, I think you could see shades of that Washington offense with Michael Penix. It's not going to be as insane right out of the bat, but they've got the talent at Alabama to have that same style of offense that Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer ran up at Washington. They've got running backs that they can. I know that Jam Miller's out, but Richard Young will be a still strong running back. I think he's going to get plenty of yards. They're going to open that passing game up with the running attack. And I think when they open it up, they're going to run wild. I could see this game being like 31-7 at halftime. I could see Alabama just blowing the doors off. I think that Alabama is up 3 scores at halftime, and this game never gets close after that.
That is spicy. I mean, when you talk about 31-7 at halftime, that's spicy. If you just
31-7 might be a bit bold. I think that's why.
Be bold. Be bold. This is spicy takes. Bold.
Fine. Well, that makes them up. What is that? 24 points? Yeah. So that's still 3 scores technically. Still 3 scores.
I like that. I mean, I like that take.
I think they're up 3 scores at halftime, and this game just never gets close again.
Yep. And both of our spicy takes, the ACC gets beat up.
ACC just takes L's. All right, walk on weekly 10. We went 3-1 last week with our picks. We both missed on the Kansas State game. We both had Kansas State covering, and obviously Iowa State won.
Yeah, it was rigged.
10 games for this week. We've got first one here. Boise State, number 25 Boise State, is a 5.5-point favorite on the road at USF. Who do you like?
Boise State. You have Maddox Manson. No, what's his last name?
Maddox.
Maxon. Coming back.
Mads. M-A-D-D-S.
Madsen. Okay, so I was right. Maddox Madsen coming back. People forget, beat out the former 5-star Malachi Nelson, who's now UTEP starter. I think it's UTEP.
Yeah, so that dude has an absolute fall from grace. We got to study him one day.
He's going to be on a 30 for 30. And I just think Boise State is talented enough all around to be able to come in here and win this game. The game is at USF, I believe. So that does play a big role. That's a lot of travel from Boise, Idaho to Tampa, Florida. But I think these boys can do it. So I think Boise State is able to win and cover.
I think Boise State wins, but USF covers. USF has an absolute gauntlet to start the year. They have Boise, I believe they have Florida, and I believe they have Miami as well. So this is an absolute gauntlet to start the year. They play Boise, they go to Florida, they go to Miami before they get South Carolina State. I don't think that they're going to start 0-3. Well, I don't think that they're going to win a game, but I do think that Alex Golish is a good offensive mind. I think Boise State losing Ashton Genty is going to be bigger than they really want it to be. I mean, you lost the best running back in the country last year.
Yeah.
I think USF is going to be able to cover the spread. I think it's going to be close. Like I think this is down to who has the ball last, but I like Boise State to win, but USF to cover.
Yeah, I just like the program that Spencer Danielson's built.
I agree.
It's hard not to pick him.
Oh, I agree. Great. I think Boise State's great program. Spencer Danielson, great fit right there. I would love to see them continue to succeed.
Yeah.
Second game here, we've got Nebraska playing at Cincinnati. Or I don't want to say at Cincinnati. They're playing Cincinnati, and it's at Arrowhead Stadium. Nebraska is a 6.5-point favorite against Cincinnati.
T Swift is now Travis Swift, so they're playing at Travis Swift's stadium. He's got to take her last name, right?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah. So, no, but in all seriousness, I think I like Cincinnati. I like Dante Corleone. I like Sorsby, the quarterback. But I like Nebraska a little bit more. And the reason for that is it's year 3 Matt Rule, which is cliche. We've done a lot of cliches today. But you look at the roster and you look at what they've been able to keep on offense. Obviously with Dylan Raiola, Emmett Johnson, I think is a good enough running back. Luke Lindenmeyer is a tight end that I think is going to be talked about a lot more coming in later in the season. But a Dane Key. So you get Dane Key out of Kentucky at wide receiver, and I think he's phenomenal. You talk about Ja'Cory Barney, who's also a really good wide receiver in the slot. So with just those 2 guys alone, I think they're able to out-talent Cincinnati and come out with the win and come out by cover. And I think they win by 10.
Yeah, I like Nebraska here as well. to me, this is the game where if they're going to be better, like if they're going to be what we think, and this is third year Matt Rule, you have to come out and you have to win this game, and you can't let this go wire to wire. Like you have to put this game away end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter. I think that this is going to happen. I think Matt Rule is a good coach. You saw what we did. You saw what he did at Temple. You saw what he did at Baylor. I think Matt Rule's a very good coach. I think he gets a bad rap for his time at the Carolina Panthers, but I think Matt Rule gets it going this year. And I don't know what Nebraska ends up being, but I think that they're going to cover the spread. I think that they're winning by double digits here.
Yeah.
Third game here. Auburn goes to Baylor. Auburn is a 2.5-point favorite on the road at Baylor.
Man, this one's tough. This one's really tough. If you would have asked me yesterday, it would have been Baylor. If you'd asked me the day before that, it was Auburn. If you had asked me the week before that, it was Auburn. If you asked me the week before that, it was Baylor. I have been flipping on this game. Obviously, the line is flipping with me. I mean, when you have Auburn minus 2.5, it's a really close game. What it comes down to for me is trust in the quarterback. And I might like Auburn's weapons more that Jackson Arnold has, but the weapons have Jackson Arnold. And that gives me a reason to be a little scared. I like Auburn's defense. I just think Baylor is going to be a tough out in this game. Sawyer Robertson is going to be phenomenal. Bryce Washington, the running back, I think is phenomenal. Man, I think I'm going to flip while I'm talking to you right now, and I'm going to go with Auburn. I'm going to stick with Auburn. War Eagle. I think Cam Coleman is phenomenal. When you have those big-time weapons at the end of the game, you have to lean on those dudes. And I think Jackson Arnold's able to take that step forward. Man, this is tough. This makes me sick to my stomach to pick Auburn, but I think I'm going to pick Auburn.
You're going with Auburn, back to Auburn?
I'm going back to Auburn. Shout out Jackson Kaplowitz, who just joined the Walk On Red Shirts. This one's for you.
Did you see that Jackson Arnold got a NIL deal with Dude Wipes?
Yeah, Jackson, the Walk On Red Shirts Jackson tweeted about that and said this is going to age very well. And I'm like,
the jokes are going to write themselves when Jackson Arnold is bad, and they're going to say, "You suck so bad, you should wipe yourself with a Dude Wipe."
Yeah.
I'm taking Baylor here for that exact reason that you talked about with the quarterback position. Hugh Freeze doesn't have confidence in the quarterback position. How are you going to expect to go on the road to Baylor, who has a solid quarterback there with Sawyer Robertson, and expect to win the game against a defensive-minded coach in Dave Aranda?
I think that's getting overblown. I think Hugh Freeze is just being a little tongue-in-cheek when he's saying 3 quarterbacks could play, 3 play callers could call plays.
I think he's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but also Hugh Freeze has also been known to just blurt stuff out sometimes.
Quarterbacks. You're right.
So the quarterback position, because I'm still not sold. I don't care who plays. I'm not sold that any of the 3 are the right guy. Jackson Arnold, you have no idea what you're going to get out of him. Ashton Daniels was fine, but what's he going to look like in SEC offense? And Deuce Knight is a true freshman. I don't really want a true freshman going on the road in his first game in a hostile environment playing. So I don't like any of the quarterbacks there. I think Baylor is a solid program, and I think they're going to pull out this win. And I think you're going to see Auburn fans up in arms if they lose to Baylor on the first game.
Yeah.
Fourth game here, Georgia Tech is a 4.5-point favorite on the road at Colorado.
Man, I just like the DNA of Georgia Tech. They're going to play. Their piss is going to be hot. They're concrete eating, barbed wire chewing kind of football team. And I think they're just going to lay it on to Colorado. I think Colorado is going to be better than a lot of people might think. This is not a Deion hating podcast. So as far as I know, I think the defense is going to be good at Colorado, but I think Georgia Tech's offense is just going to be able to pummel them. I think Georgia Tech wins fairly easily and by a large margin.
I agree. I think Georgia Tech is a better program. I think Colorado's taking a step back. They announced Caden Salter is going to be the starting quarterback. I actually think the Colorado offense and defensive line are going to be good. I like in relative good for Big 12 terms. I don't think they're going to be like elite, but I think that they actually might be able to run the ball a little bit this year. I think the defensive line is going to be one of the better ones in the Big 12. I think that they've done a good job in bringing in talent in the transfer portal and retaining enough of the guys that should be playing. So I think Colorado's defensive line could give Georgia Tech a little bit of trouble, but the Haynes King and Justice Haynes combination to me are just too much. So I'm taking Georgia Tech. I agree with you. I think 4.5 is way too low. I think this is a 14, 17 point game when it's all said and done. But I do think that Deion's program is going to be better than a lot of people think. Syracuse is a 13.5 point favorite against Tennessee in a game being played in Atlanta, Georgia for some reason. Not about the spread, but it's being played in Atlanta, Georgia when they could have just played this on one of the campuses. But Tennessee is the 13.5 point favorite with Joey Aguilar starting.
Yeah. I like Tennessee's defense a lot. I like Syracuse's offense a good bit. 13.5 just seems too steep for what you've lost on Tennessee's offense. I don't think they lay a whooping on Syracuse like that. I don't think Fran Brown's coaching the team that's going to get beat by 2 touchdowns. Give me Tennessee to win, but Syracuse to cover.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Syracuse covers the spread. I think Stephen Jelly, you've got a quarterback with experience. Joey Aguilar has turnovers. Like, he led the country in turnovers last year, and I don't think that suddenly is going to change, especially for a guy who only spent basically 1 month practicing with this offense. He did not get to campus until the summertime because he was at UCLA. So I have concerns about his ability to not turn the ball over, and I think Syracuse keeps this game close for a relatively long time. I think Tennessee has more talent, but I think that Syracuse offense, that Syracuse wide receivers are going to do enough to keep themselves in the game. They obviously lost Trevor Pena, but they got Jonte Cook. They've got the guy coming over from Colorado State, and I think they brought in one more transfer as well, or they have one guy who was there for last year. But they've got talent at wide receiver that I think is going to give Tennessee a little bit of issues. Obviously, Jermon McCoy is at Tennessee. He's going to do a fantastic job of locking down one. But I think Syracuse will find a way to move the ball a little bit here. Next one here, South Carolina is a 7.5 point favorite against Virginia Tech. This game is being played on Sunday afternoon. So, do you like South Carolina by 7.5, or do you like Virginia Tech?
Man, I want to see what Virginia Tech does this year. I like Kyron Jones. You were a huge Kyron Jones fan last year before you.
I'm out on Kyron Jones.
You're finally out. Okay, you sold your stock. I get it.
Sold my stock way too low. Took a big loss in it.
And you know what? Sometimes that happens. But to make money, you gotta no risk it, no biscuit, right? So, but in this case, I'm not making any risk it. There's no risk it. I don't care if I don't get biscuits this weekend. Lenora Sellers is a phenomenal quarterback. Now, I'm not sold on South Carolina being the 13th best team in the country. I don't think they are. I don't think they have that roster. I don't think they're those guys, pal. But I think Lenora Sellers is good enough to win a lot of games, almost essentially just from his play style. So Lenora Sellers is able to help beat Virginia Tech and cover this game. Now, you go back to last year, they played a team from Virginia and Old Dominion and sneak out with a 7-point victory. But I think they're a lot more established this year than they were last year. So give me South Carolina to cover this one.
Yeah, Brent Pry's coaching for his job, and I'm not sure he'll have one here in a little bit. I agree with you. I'm not sure South Carolina's the 13th best in the country, but I'm not sure that Virginia Tech is one of the 40 best teams in the country. I do think South Carolina is one of the 25 best. I don't think Virginia Tech is one of the 40 best. So I think that South Carolina watches into Blacksburg, and I think they win this game relatively easy. I think that this is a 17-point game here in the fourth quarter. Alabama is a 13.5 point favorite over Florida State. You think Tommy Castellanos does it?
No, there's not much talking on this one. I think you might see a drive or two early where Tommy Castellanos makes some plays and you, okay. And then Bama just does Bama things, and they curb stomp them. So give me Bama to cover on this one.
My hot take was that Bama would have this game wrapped up by halftime. I don't think that Florida State finds a way to backdoor cover this. Give me Bama. Sunday night game, Notre Dame is a 2.5-point favorite over Miami. You already alluded to your pick there. Do you have anything additional you want to say about how Notre Dame is going to blow them out?
No, I think Notre Dame is going to rely on the run. I think it's going to be too much for Miami. I think they're going to roll.
I agree. I'm not confident in Carson Beck. That offense scares me with the lack of playmakers. What I do know is that Notre Dame has a solid defense and they've got a running a game. I don't know what I've got in CJ Carr, but I think that they can win the game by running the ball 40 times if they had to. So I think 2.5 points. I like that. LSU versus Clemson. Clemson is a 3.5-point favorite at home. Why are your Tigers winning?
The Tigers are winning because Cade Klubnik has a hell of a game. Those for 250-plus yards. We surprisingly run for over 100 yards with the running backs, not including the quarterback. So give me Clemson to win. Give me Clemson to cover. I think Clemson wins by double digits in this game. But what I don't want to say is that this is a butt whooping. I think this is going to be a back and forth game. And then I think late in the game, Garrett Nussmeier's going to have to press a little bit, going to have to, push a little bit, and he's going to make a turnover, a costly turnover that's going to push it to a 31-20 final score.
I've got Clemson here as well. If this game was in LSU, I'd probably feel a little different. I mean, this spread is basically saying this game is close, but Clemson's getting the nod because they're at home. I think Clemson's defense is more proven. I think they're going to give Garrett Nussmeier trouble. I'm not sold on that running game yet for LSU. I need to see it to believe it. So I'm going to take Clemson. I'm going to take the defense that I know. I'm going to take the team that's at home. That's really where it comes down to for me. I think the defense for Clemson is really where the money's to be made. Final game here, big noon kickoff, just like everybody wants. Number 1 versus number 3. Texas plays Ohio State. What do you have?
Well, I hope I have the game on TV, YouTube, Fox. let's quit bickering. Let's get this figured out. I better be watching this freaking game at noon. I will lose my mind if this game is out on my television on Saturday. Anyway, Jake, I'm sorry. I think Texas obviously covers. I think Texas covers, and then I think Texas wins. I like Arch Manning. I don't know enough about Julian Sand to make a decision on what I think that Ohio State offense can do. I've got Texas winning, I think, 27-20.
Yeah, Julian Sand's obviously a big question mark. I'm going to be at this game Saturday. I'm going to make a homer pick here. I'm going to take Ohio State to cover. I think the game at home is going to be enough. Arch Manning said he doesn't get nervous when he goes into games. I think there's a little bit of a gamer in him. Obviously, you know who his uncles are. They both won Super Bowls. I think there's a little bit of that in his bloodlines. I think Arch Manning is going to have success. Like you said, don't have him throw 35 times. I think you're going to see Arch Manning have success early. I think Julian Sand is going to come into his own, but I think Texas leads at halftime. And I think Ohio State ends up winning this game. I wouldn't say I'm going to take 24-20 as my final score. I think this is a low scoring game. I don't know what the over under is, but I think 24-20 would probably be under. And yeah, I think this is 50.5. I think this is a little bit more low scoring. I think the defenses are going to be where we're going to see. You've got Colin Simmons, you've got Anthony Hill, you've got Michael Taft, you've got Malik Muhammad over on that Texas defense. You've got Caleb Downs, you've got Sonny Styles, and you've got plenty of dudes on that Ohio State defense that may not be starters, but have plenty of experience and played throughout all of last season. So I think this is a very low scoring game. I think at halftime, I think this is a 14-10 game at halftime. I think Texas leads 14-10, and I think Ohio State pulls out the victory 24-20 or 24-21, something right in that range, and just barely covers the spread. I think this line is spot on.
And you'll be there, right?
I will be there. And I will be watching arguably the game of the year. Luckily, we have it week 1 at the first time slot.
You'll be in Clemson?
No.
47.5 is the over-under.
Okay. So, yeah, if don't take this as betting advice. This is not betting advice, but I would take the under for that. That would be where I'd feel more confident, taking the under in this game. With that being said, that is our Walk On Weekly 10. That is our week 1 preview. We'll be back again next week to talk week 2 preview. If you haven't done so already, go sign up for Squad Blitz. They're doing weekly contests. You still have time to go and join a league. If you want to go join a league, there's still plenty of time. We've got time before week 1 kicks off. You can go get you and your friends to join Squad Blitz. You draft teams, not players. Makes life a lot easier than trying to figure out who's going to get all the carries. Go click us as a referral. Make sure to rate the podcast. We are still giving away Walk On Red Shirts 5-star listener stickers. They'll be going out this week. If you give us a rate the podcast, leave a review, send me a screenshot. We'll get a sticker out to you. Make sure you go follow us on social media at Walk On Red Shirts on any podcast or any of your social media sites. Go follow Will at Walk On Moose on Twitter, or his Instagram is usually tagged in any of my stories that I end up posting because he's always tagged in every single one of them. So if you don't know where it is, go find Walk On Red Shirts on Instagram, and you can find Will's pretty easily as well. With that being said, week 1 is here. Let's have a weekend.
Let's have a weekend, Jake. YouTube, Fox, figure it out.
And we'll be back next week.